Tubeless tires are one of the best bike innovations of the past 15 years because they prevent the biggest buzzkill of riding a bike, and that is flat tires. I've been riding tubeless tires exclusively for the past 2 years, and there's only one time that I flatted out during a ride, and it was my fault because I was dumb and I was lazy with topping up the sealant. It was bone dry and there was absolutely no sealant left. But tubes are still around because they're just flat out better for most people. Because tubeless, if we're being honest, it's kind of a pain in the ass to install and to maintain. But is tubeless maintenance really as bad as people make it out to be? Because I've committed the cardinal sin of riding tubeless, and I've been treating my tubeless setups on both of my bikes as if they were just like tube setups. You're supposed to ride them pretty frequently and consistently so that the sealant doesn't dry out. You're supposed to top it up every like 2 months or so on sealant. And there are points where I've left either one of these bikes just unridden for weeks at a time. So today I'm going to clean out all of the dried sealant that has accumulated in my tires and to top up my tires on sealant, to see if this is as big of a pain in the butt as everybody says, and to see if this whole tubeless maintenance thing is enough of a headache to make me want to go back to tubes. Everybody says that it's best to go tubeless on the bike, that you ride enough that you replace the tires like once every 6 months to once a year so that you don't have to scrape out dried sealant because it is a pain in the neck. But that was all said and good when I only had one bike, because I would go through tires every 6 months to every year, but now I have 2 bikes. So now I'm only going through tires like once every year and a half to maybe once every 2 years. Like, I still have some life left on this rear Panaracer Gravel King, even though I'm riding brakeless fixed gear. Like, you can still see the little dimple indicator saying that it doesn't need to be replaced. And I've been riding these tires for a year now. Ever since I installed these tires, they have not been off of the rim. I've just been adding sealant about every 2 months, every 3 months or so, and I have never cleaned them out in the year that they've been on this wheel. And every time I do add sealant without cleaning it out, which is every time I've added sealant to these tires, I do feel like the tire in the wheel set, it does get heavier. I do feel like a little bit of extra weight. I don't know how much that's actually making me slower under real world conditions, but I can actually feel it. Oh, it's really gunky. Oh, pretty much exactly what I was expecting. So there is still some sealant in there, which is the good news because I have ridden on a dry rim or a dry wheel before, and there's a ton of dried sealant in there, which is just dead weight and doing absolutely nothing but except maybe making me stronger as I ride my bike. Now I'm gonna siphon up all the sealant so I can get to scraping. Everyone says to wear clothes that you don't care about when you're working on tubeless stuff. And to that I say, get good. It's only messy if you messy. Oh, bro, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That is not a thing that people said in tutorials. The sealant is peeling off my rim tape, which may or may not be problematic when I try to reset this up as tubeless. I might just have to go with tubes before, I get some new rim tape. Okay, that's another thing with tubeless that's a pain in the ass. This is not cash money. Pretty much nothing about tubeless can be easy, and everything has to be a pain in the ass, even just trying to clean stuff out. So most people recommend to leave the tires out and dry out the sealant for a few hours. But, you know, ain't nobody got time for that, so I'm just gonna see if like 30 minutes to an hour is enough. So I'm still undecided at this point in time as to whether this is a big enough pain in the butt for me to switch back to tubes. But I have a feeling that if I do switch back to tubes, it would only be on my Wabi Special, because I mostly ride this on the road. Just very occasionally I'll take it off-road. And then I have the Wabi Thunder as my off-road bike. And tubeless is really good for off-road because you could run it at really low pressures without having to be afraid of pinching and getting a pinch flat on your tubes. So Wabi actually is the sponsor of this video. You can check them out at wabicycles.com, and they recently made this wheel set, which is like their own tubeless ready all-terrain wheels, and the nice thing about this is that it's really lightweight. It comes in at 1730 grams for the wheel set, which is like, this is lighter than my my custom built velocities, so that's cool, and they're not even that expensive, especially considering how stupid expensive all bike stuff has gotten in the past 5 years. The cool thing about the Wabi wheels is that it comes with tubeless ready rim tape pre-installed, and for any beginner setting up tubeless for the first time, a lot of the hang up is on the rim tape and making sure that it's absolutely airtight. At least that's how it was for me. So they take a lot of the pain in the butt of setting up tubeless away just by installing the rim tape. So if you also want to crush baby heads on the bike just as you crush them off of the bike, be sure to check out Wabi's tubeless ready wheels at wabicycles.com. Nom 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 nom, delicioso. So I've just spent like the last 25 minutes or so just really cleaning out my rims with some alcohol and a shop rag, and just trying to get out like these little, I guess, sealant boogers, for lack of a better term. And I can't help but feel that this is really pointless. There's maybe like 5 grams or less of sealant per wheel, and this does not make a difference to me. Why am I spending so much time doing this when there were so many better things I could be doing with my time? Literally anything else. Like, the whole point of me riding fixed gear, one of the big reasons is that they're low maintenance and you don't have to worry about them, and this is just the antithesis of that, and I kind of hate it. It's been about an hour. These have been sitting out in the sun, and the sealant is definitely not completely dry. It does probably need to stay out overnight, like what most people say, but you can see there is a pretty fair amount of dried sealant in here, and I do feel it when I am riding my bike. You can especially see like these little scabs of sealant where I have not ridden my bike for weeks at a time, because like it was winter and I was mostly riding the bike with fenders. Yeah, I'm kind of having second thoughts about tubeless. To scrape the sealant out, a lot of people, and by a lot of people I mean GCN and Russ of Pathless Pedal, have recommended to use these natural rubber erasers to scrape out the dried sealant, but this is literally something I have never seen until tubeless people on YouTube started recommending this. This looks like something that your grandpa would use as an eraser in school during like the Great Depression. So instead of that, spending $8 to do chores I don't want to do, I am gonna just use rubber gloves. The gloves don't work. This is not a big brain idea. So this whole process was kind of aggravating me because it is a lot of work if you want to be very meticulous and get all the old sealant out and then put new sealant in. But I'm also thinking, like, why am I doing this in the first place? It's like, yeah, it adds weight to the tire, but I don't really care. I'm not a competitive cyclist. And out of all of my tires, this is like the only clump that I want to get rid of because it looks like the cheese on a lasagna, and it's like gross. But otherwise, all my other tires are perfectly fine. So why would I be spending all of this effort and time to do something that doesn't even really give me any benefit? So the good thing is that after popping open my tires, I learned that they're not super splotchy, other than this one with that big lasagna wound. And everything else I'm just gonna leave as is, because the tires are like almost worn out anyway. I think tubeless maintenance only really sucks if you make it suck. If you just don't care, I think that is the key to going tubeless. Just don't care, just enjoy it, just don't get your flats, and then change your tires after maybe 2 years. Maybe 2 years max. Maybe 3 years. I don't know. It's up to you, dude. I don't care. I'm gonna just keep riding it. What I will do is commit another cardinal sin and rotate my tires. Everyone says don't do it, but everybody does it anyway. I didn't get the peel. Whatever, I'm gonna keep picking at it. Maybe about 20 minutes to pick off that lasagna scab. And just for fun, it weighs, oh my gosh, 3 whole grams for 20 minutes. Definitely not worth picking off the sealant. I'm just gonna leave the sealant in there. It's not bothering me. I don't see it. I can feel it a little bit, but honestly, it's probably not even making any difference in real world riding, especially since I'm not a competitive cyclist. So I'm gonna just put my tires back on, dude. I think that the past 3 hours and 20 minutes was more of an exercise in philosophy than anything else, because nothing physically has really changed other than I rotated a couple of tires and topped up on sealant. But I learned a lot, both about bikes and about myself. So I was kind of freaking out that I was like, there's no way that I can get this sealant off with the rubber gloves or anything that I have in the house. So I was thinking like, man, I should go to Target and then it'll take like a couple more hours to peel off all of the sealant. And then I realized this is only a problem if I make it a problem. If I just don't care that there's dried sealant in my tires, it's not a problem. And that made me feel great, because then I could just put my bikes back together and get on with riding my bikes instead of working on my bikes. And I think most people on YouTube, probably even myself included, are wrong, just flat wrong about tubeless tires, because a lot of us say that tubeless tires are really hard to install, which is true if you're just starting out, and much harder especially if you're comparing them to tubed tires, but it's not hard after you get the hang of it. I installed 4 tubeless tires in 20 minutes. And then people also say that you have to ride your tubeless tires probably about like 3 to 4 times every week, because if you don't, you'll get a big scab of dried sealant in your tires, which is not fun. Which, it's only not fun if you actually care about what the inside of your tires look like. If you just don't think about it, it's not a problem. And then people also say that the maintenance with tubeless tires is also a big pain in the butt, myself included, just because I was parroting what everybody else said on YouTube. Yeah, the tires will be a little bit heavier, maybe by a few tens of grams per tire, but it's not going to make any appreciable difference unless you're a super competitive high-tier rider, which I am not. It got me thinking that, like, all of these problems that people say that they have with tubeless tires are problems that they have with themselves. They're problems that don't exist. They're problems in the head. Tubeless tires aren't high maintenance. Maybe you're the one that's high maintenance, because tubeless tires are the most low maintenance thing. All you gotta do is take maybe 3 or 4 minutes every 2 months and top up the sealant a little bit and keep air in the tires. Other than that, I have gotten only 1 flat, which was my fault, in the 2 years of riding tubeless tires. These are the most low maintenance tires that I've ever used. And a lot of people say that they're high maintenance because, oh, it's a pain in the ass to scrape out the sealant. Well, yeah, it is, but who cares about the dried sealant inside the tire? That's like going to a sewer and saying, sure smells like shit in here. Like, the sealant is supposed to be in the tire. And the fact that your tire gets a little bit heavier every 2 months after you top it up with sealant is just a cost that you have to pay to not get flats pretty much ever again. I went into this video thinking that I would probably hate maintaining the tubeless tires because it is a pain in the ass to scrape out the sealant, and that just seems to be the thing that everybody does on YouTube for some reason. After this, I realized, like, the sealant's job is to be in the tire. It's letting the tire seat on the bead. It's sealing up the valve. It's sealing the air inside the tire. I need the sealant in there even if it is dry. Because when it comes down to it, I get less flats on my tubeless setup, even if it might be a little bit heavier than a tube setup. But also it rides a lot more supplely because I can ride more supple tires that are more flexible without fearing of getting a flat, and that's what I think the beauty of tubeless tires is. And I can also run low pressures and just really just tank those baby heads and tree roots and not have any fear at all when I'm out riding my bike. And whether tubeless tires are for you really comes down to your personal preference. Like, are you willing to learn and put the work in up front when it comes to your bike maintenance and installing tubeless tires? Or would you rather just stick to what you're comfortable with, what's more beginner friendly, and just spend 10 minutes on the side of the road, maybe once a month, fixing a flat tire? And to me, I would rather just enjoy my bike while I'm riding it and just take the 2 to 4 minutes every month of topping up the sealant. Tubes are great, but I'm a tubeless convert.